burden. And my mom had been talking to my grandparents, and I remember one weekend we went home, and it was you know, a normal weekend. We had food, we laughed, we ate together, and just visited my grandparents. My grandfather called me into the living room, and I sat near him, and I remember he just started. He would go from talking into stories so easily. And he said, you know, a long time ago, Navajo people didn't live here. He said, in the world before this one, it was dark. It was dark, but the Navajo people who were there had everything they needed in the place that they were at. This is a new world for humans. So they were starting to cultivate this new world. They had everything that you have, that we have now, but it was just a little different. One day, it started to rain, and oh, those Navajo people that lived there were so happy. Just like today, rain is very important. And so those Navajo people celebrated. The kids were outside playing in the rain, and they just celebrated this moisture that they needed so badly. And as the day went on, the rain didn't stop. It actually got stronger. And this continued. After the second day came, they started to worry because the banks of the stream below, where they would get their water for their crops, had flooded, and it was already coming up the hill to their homes. They began to worry about what they should do with the livestock that were down there, so they pulled everything closer to their house. By the time the end of the second day came, the water was to their doorway. They couldn't stay anymore. So all these Navajo people began to think about, where do we need to go to be safe? They packed everything they could, took what livestock they could with them, and they went to higher ground. And they went up to this mesa, and all these people that lived in this valley followed suit. They went with them. And they took everything they could. And those Navajo people began to worry about, what should we do if this rain doesn't stop? By the time the third day came, the water was already up to the mesa they were on. It was getting closer. They knew they had to go even higher. So they went to the next highest mountain range they could find. And that was the tallest mountain in the area, was where they were headed. And as they went, that entire third day, all the way through that night, the water was right behind them. The rain was coming so fast and so heavy. Every now and then you could hear the kids crying, and you know, they would stop to plan what their next move was going to be. And they would hear this noise, this whoosh, whoosh. And they would stop what they were doing and listen to try to hear what that strange noise was. And once they quieted everybody down and stopped, that noise would go away. This continued throughout the third day. By the time the fourth day came, they were already on the top of this mesa, or this mountain. They had lost all their livestock. They only had what they could carry. That was the children and maybe a little bit of food. They didn't have anything. They had lost everything along this journey. And they had lost some elders. They had lost some babies who had gotten sick. It was a real hard time for these people who made it to the top of this mountain. And they stood there and thought, where now? What are we going to do? The fourth day was well on its way when they would hear this noise, but they were so scared and so helpless. They felt so helpless that they didn't bother to listen anymore. And at one point in the afternoon, they looked up and they saw this little boy called everybody's attention to this huge outline in the sky. Everybody looked up and they saw this huge bird come whoosh, whoosh. She came towards them and she said, "My children, I have finally found you. I have been looking all over for you. I'd hear your cries, and as soon as I get close enough to find you, they'd stop." And all that time they had been listening for her. And so she landed where they were at. She opened her wings and she said, "Hurry, crawl under my wings and get on my back." And she was a huge bird, huge eagle. And all those Navajo people crawled onto her body. And she said, "Hold on, I'm going to take you someplace safe." and she began to fly. And as she flew, she sang songs to them to calm them down, to soothe them. She also told them a little bit about where they were going. She said, do you see that circle in the sky? She said, we're going to fly there. That circle's going to grow, and we're going to fly through that. And when we get through, you need to cover the baby's eyes, because the light is going to be so bright, brighter than anything you've ever seen before. And sure enough, on the 4th day of flying, they flew through that circle in the sky, and they came into this world, the 5th world. And she landed. She flew for a little while longer, and she finally landed on the top of this hill. And she sat there, she opened her wings up, and she let all those Navajo people out. And they stood there for a long time trying to adjust to this vibrant light. They could see everything. They had every detail was new to them. And they were just in awe of where they were at. She said, my children, the holy people, they've created this place for you, just for you. She said, do you see across over there? That's farmland. Go plant your crops there. It will always provide for you and your families all the food that you need. She said, these mountains behind me, they'll always be here, enough for you to take wood. It'll always grow back, and it'll be enough to provide safe housing for you. It is also a place where your livestock can go and be fed. She said, do you see that river that runs right here below me? That river will always run as long as you take care of it for your children and your children's children. She said, I'm going to sit right here, and I'm going to wait. Ask me for whatever you need, and I'll be happy to help if I can. She said, I want to make sure that you're safe. And so she sat there. And every now and then, Navajo people, families would come back and give her pieces of their harvest, bring her things that they had made from the wood that they had gathered. They gave her gifts. She sat there for so long that she turned to stone. Sebetah, our mother eagle. And she still sits there today. When you see pictures of Shiprock, New Mexico, that's our mother. And she still sits there protecting. If you look at her, there's images. Actually, if any of you want to see, somebody just went home this past weekend and sent me photos of Shiprock on my phone, so I actually have them with me. Shiprock is a huge rock in the desert, and then below her there's 2 similar ones that look just like her. Those were what they call her babies. They're identical little rocks. So she sits there, and we have a reverence to her, and are thankful for the San Juan Valley, which is where, San Juan Basin, which is where we're from, and our livelihood is still there. Those stories, that story there gave me a better sense and better understanding of who I was. And I went on that trip, and I remember standing in Paris thinking, looking at thousands of people that are walking past me, and thinking, I'm the only one who's me. I'm the only one who was born into that family in the 4 corners that's sitting right here now. I'm the only one who can tell my story as me. So my identity changed that day to be stronger and a better understanding, maybe more comfortable with who I am. And as we go out, you know, we talk about these stories, and there's a storytelling season that we have that goes from when this first snowfall, which is actually yesterday, if you guys didn't notice, there was flurries yesterday afternoon. So the first snowfall until the snow melts, which is our typical storytelling season. But you know, the privilege of hearing this and understanding this knowledge is something that I have an obligation to pass to you, to pass to other people who want to know. Because something about what I'm saying is going to help unlock some piece of knowledge, which you may not realize today, but it may come in the future, is going to unlock something in you. And just the same way, every one of you are storytellers. So while I have a specific kind of story I tell, you guys do it every day at lunch. You guys do it when you're talking to each other in the hallway.